Do you paint figures? Is your art figurative or is
Yeah,
it completely abstract?
sometimes I usually paint figures actually. I kind of try to take draft writing and turn it into figures sometimes, and sometimes I paint figures straight up. But that's one thing that I really liked in Kerouac, because he kind of explored the edge of figurative in a lot of his paintings. And I guess Basquiat did that too. Well, his was more stylistic. But yeah, I definitely do paint figures.
Basquiat aside, all the references he's making to Jack Kerouac are based on an exhibition at the New York Public Library. It's absolutely fascinating. If you live in New York City or are around, you should check it out. It follows the life of Jack Kerouac and his development as an artist in multiple respects. He was also quite a good painter, I was surprised to learn. So was Erik, apparently. It seemed to me that most of Kerouac's artwork was of a religious nature.
Yes. I've done quite a few things of religious nature.
Please expand on it.
I feel like it's just because I work a lot with symbols. And symbols can take a lot of different forms and mean a lot of different things. And religious symbols are very, prominent in our society, and, work a lot with, different kinds of symbols, religion included. It's more about exploring the meaning of symbols, and religion falls within that realm.
Okay.
Yeah.
Is any of your artwork outright religious in nature?
Well, yeah, I did a stencil with a bunch of crosses.
Okay.
Once, which people seem to think was pretty ominous.
It was ominous.
Yeah. So that was pretty outright religious. It also had a guy in a cowboy hat. And that was religious.
Cowboy hats are ominous too.
Yeah. And then there was something where I painted a guy in the street had been lit on fire from 103.
Also ominous.
Yeah. And I painted like a memorial thing.
Really?
Yeah, a figure like lighting fire and he's praying at the same time. Which I thought was, an apt motivation.
Do you feel that you fit within the context of the art scene in New York City, if there is such a thing, or it's not completely incoherent, sort of urban realism? How do you relate to Harlem out there as an artist?
I live here, and I guess a lot of my inspiration might come from things around here. I've actually thought about doing a series of paintings where I directly, or for photographs probably, well, I've already done a series of photographs that directly depicted scenes from the neighborhood. I haven't really done it in a coherent way, really. I've done more like rich random snapshots of things that may or may not have meaning to people other than me, and, describe it to them themselves. But I've thought about exploring that to a greater extent, yeah. I definitely engage with what's going on around here, and to that extent, I guess, urban realist.
If we could use that term.
Yeah, I don't know, it seems a little corny, but...
Yes, but...
Yeah. Yeah, it's...
If we're going for Lipton here, the artist studio, tell us about your relationship with drugs. You mentioned that earlier.
Everything's a drug. Sleep's a drug.
Okay.
It's a drug. It's all about exploring different states of mind, I guess. And I find that under different states of mind, I can sometimes see things differently. Art comes out of it. Sometimes it's good, sometimes it's bad. But, that'll happen. Sometimes I'm just inspired, sometimes I'm not. The chemicals in there seem to have some sort of relationship to that. I wouldn't necessarily want to be like a poster boy for substances or inspiring artists, but it just kind of just happens.
Well, speaking of poster boys, would you say that there's a sort of governing philosophical ethos behind how you approach art? I'm going to let the viewers in on a little secret here once Erik stops playing with that. You've described yourself as a postmodernist.
Have I?
Yes.
What is that?
It's pretty consistent.
Oh, okay.
The role of philosophy upon your art. Or is it antithetical to postmodernism to say that postmodernism has had an influence upon.
That might be the
in
case,
art.
yeah. But I mean, to the extent, like, a lot of things that people have called postmodernism in the past, like, I like. And I'm definitely, you know, to the extent that I think modernism is, like, you know, a false idol.
False idol.
I can say that, I think. To that extent,
Postmodernism, a false idol.
I mean, probably, but I mean, it's the one that's, you know, it's like kind of a response to modernism to the extent that it's kind of tearing it down so really things can fall.
How do you feel that you're tearing it down?
Well, I mean, modernism is constructed as the like idea that creating something new and apart from everything that happened before is the ideal in aesthetic design. Is like a false idea because nothing can be created is new. Everything is like the product of previous experience and so on. So to that extent.
I feel like you're just applying sociology to.
Well, I mean, you started with that word postmodernism. To be honest,
but you've outright said that.
Okay. Well, you know, like maybe I should add a caveat. I don't even really know what postmodernism is.
Does anyone?
Yeah, and I feel like even trying to talk about it, I feel like ashamed of the attempts I've even made just now to try to explain it.
As well you should.
Yeah,
Shame on you.
Don't know. Yeah, it's postmodernism. It's just art. It's something
It's just
that's
art.
pretty maybe, and that people like to buy. That's what I'm more interested in. Consumerism.
Tell me about your relationship with color.
Oh yeah, color is fun. I mean, I like to use color a lot. I think it's the basis for which, you know, things can be found attractive along with shape. But yeah, color, I like color. I think I'm pretty good at color. I mean, it's a big part of it.
I would describe most of your art as completely aperspectival. How do you feel about that?
I mean, I would think that that's not true. Because I do work with perspective sometimes.
I don't think you do. You showed me a landscape once, and that was about the extent to which you'd engaged.
Well, I mean, I like
that was completely like.
I've read a bunch of books on how, you know, our brains construct perspective. And, for instance, in that painting, I did this thing called, what's it called? It's like some researcher's name and the name circle. And
that
basically
one.
What he thought he could do was thought he could create depth in circles with lines that simulate a circle. I don't know how well it turned out, but I definitely, you know,
It's really good.
tried to play, oh, thank you. Tried to play around with that a lot. But, I mean, I think it's, you know, perspective is just a medium to play around with. I don't think it's necessarily something that I try to use to simulate reality, which I guess is the point of it. So I guess I just use it in a different way. To simulate aesthetic pleasantness.
Aesthetic
as
pleasantness.
opposed to depict something real.
Now, it sounded a second ago like you wanted to go off about commerce.
Yes.
How so?
Well, I mean, I think that art is unique as a field because it is the one. We're all selling ourselves.
Yes.
Farmers sell food. People believe that that's pretty worth it.